Mr. Moderator, Reverend Cleage, and Milton, brothers and sisters, friends, and I see some enemies. I think we'd be fooling ourselves if we had an audience this large and didn't realize that there were some enemies present. This afternoon we want to talk about the ballot or the bullet. The ballot or the bullet explains itself. But before we get into it, since this is the year of the ballot or the bullet, I would like to clarify some things that refer to me personally concerning my own personal position. I'm still a Muslim. That is, my religion is still Islam. My religion is still Islam. I still credit Mr. Muhammad for what I know and what I am. He's the one who opened my eyes. At present, I'm the minister of the newly founded Muslim Mosque Incorporated, which has its offices in the Teresa Hotel right in the heart of Harlem. That's the Black Belt in New York City. And when we realize that Adam Clayton Powell is a Christian minister, he has the Abyssinia Baptist Church, but at the same time he's more famous for his political struggling. And Dr. King is a Christian minister from Atlanta, Georgia, or in Atlanta, Georgia, but he's become more famous for being involved in the civil rights struggle. There's another in New York, Reverend Galamison. I don't know if you've heard of him out here. He's a Christian minister from Brooklyn, but has become famous for his fight against the segregated school system in Brooklyn. Reverend Cleage, right here, is a Christian minister here in Detroit. He's the head of the Freedom Now Party. All of these are Christian ministers. All of these are Christian ministers, but they don't come to us as Christian ministers. They come to us as fighters in some other category. I'm a Muslim minister. The same as they are Christian ministers, I'm a Muslim minister. And I don't believe in fighting today in any one front, but on all fronts. In fact, I'm a black nationalist freedom fighter. Islam is my religion, but I believe my religion is my personal business. It governs my personal life, my personal morals. And my religious philosophy is personal between me and the God in whom I believe. Just as the religious philosophy of these others is between them and the God in whom they believe. And this is best this way. Were we to come out here discussing religion, we'd have too many differences from the outstart, and we could never get together. So today, though Islam is my religious philosophy, my political, economic, and social philosophy is black nationalism. You and I... As I say, if we bring up religion, we'll have differences, we'll have arguments, we'll never be able to get together. But if we keep our religion at home, keep our religion in the closet, keep our religion between ourselves and our God, but when we come out here, we have a fight that's common to all of us against the enemy who is common to all of us. The political philosophy of black nationalism only means that...
You're listening to His Lordship Show. This is the famous speech, The Ballot or the Bullet by Malcolm X.
Unity and get us to vote for them so that they can be our political leaders tell us what to do and what not to do is long gone. By the same token, the time when that same white man, knowing that your eyes are too far open, can send another Negro into the community, get you and me to support him so he can use him to lead us astray, those days are long gone. The political philosophy of black nationalism only means that if you and I are going to live in a black community, and that's where we're going to live, because as soon as you move into one of their, as soon as you move out of the black community into their community, it's mixed for a period of time, but they're gone, and you're right there all by yourself. We must understand the politics of our community, and we must know what politics is supposed to produce. We must know what part politics play in our lives. And until we become politically mature, we will always be misled, led astray, or deceived or maneuvered into supporting someone politically who doesn't have the good of our community at heart. So the political philosophy of black nationalism only means that we will have to carry on a program, a political program of re-education to open our people's eyes, make us become more politically conscious, politically mature. And then we will, whenever we get ready to cast our ballot, that ballot will be cast for a man of the community who has the good of the community at heart. And the economic philosophy of black nationalism only means that we should own and operate and control the economy of our community. You would never find, you can't open up a black store in a white community. White man won't even patronize you. And he's not wrong. He got sense enough to look out for himself. And it's you who don't have sense enough to look out for yourself. The white man is too intelligent to let someone else come and gain control of the economy of his community. But you will let anybody come in and control the economy of your community. Control the housing, control the education, control the jobs, control the businesses under the pretext that you want to integrate. No, you're out of your mind. The economic philosophy of black nationalism only means that we have to become involved in a program of re-education to educate our people into the importance of knowing that when you spend your dollar out of the community in which you live, the community in which you spend your money becomes richer and richer. The community out of which you take your money becomes poorer and poorer. And because these Negroes who have been misled, misguided, are breaking their necks to take their money and spend it with the man. The man is becoming richer and richer, and you're becoming poorer and poorer. And then what happens? The community in which you live becomes a slum. It becomes a ghetto. The conditions become run down. And then you have the audacity to complain about poor housing in a run-down community. Why, you run it down yourself when you take your dollar out. And you and I are in a double trap, because not only do we lose by taking our money someplace else and spending it, when we try and spend it in our own community, we're trapped because we haven't had sense enough to set up stores and control the businesses of our community. The man who's controlling the stores in our community is a man who doesn't look like we do. He's a man who doesn't even live in the community. So you and I, even when we try and spend our money in the block where we live or the area where we live, we're spending it with a man who, when the sun goes down, takes that basket full of money in another part of the town. So we're trapped, double trapped, triple trapped. Anywhere we go, we find that we're trapped. And every kind of solution that someone comes up with is just another trap. But the political and economic philosophy of black nationalism, the economic philosophy of black nationalism shows our people the importance of setting up these little stores and developing them and expanding them into larger operations, Woolworth didn't start out big like they are today. They started out with a dime store and expanded and expanded and expanded until today they're all over the country and all over the world, and they're getting some of everybody's money. Now this, what you and I in General Motors, the same way, didn't start out like it is. It started out just a little rat race type operation. And it expanded and expanded until today it's where it is right now. And you and I have to make a start. And the best place to start is right in the community where we live. So our people not only have to be re-educated to the importance of supporting black business, but the black man himself has to be made aware of the importance of going into business. And once you and I go into business, we own and operate at least the businesses in our community. What we will be doing is developing a situation wherein we will actually be able to create employment for the people in the community. And once you can create some employment in the community where you live, it will eliminate the necessity of you and me having to act ignorantly and disgracefully, boycotting and picketing some cracker someplace else, trying to beg him for a job. Anytime you have to rely upon your enemy for a job, you're in bad shape. And he is your enemy. Anytime, you wouldn't be in this country if some enemy hadn't kidnapped you and brought you here. On the other hand, some of you think you came here on the Mayflower. So as you can see, brothers and sisters, today, this afternoon, it's not our intention to discuss religion. We're going to forget religion. If we bring up religion, we'll be in an argument. And the best way to keep away from arguments and differences, as I said earlier, put your religion at home, in the closet. Keep it between you and your God. Because if it hasn't done anything more for you than it has, you need to forget it anyway. Whether you are a Christian or a Muslim or a nationalist, we all have the same problem. They don't hang you because you're a Baptist, they hang you because you're black. They don't attack me because I'm a Muslim, they attack me because I'm black. They attack all of us for the same reason. All of us catch hell from the same enemy. We're all in the same bag, in the same boat. We suffer political oppression, economic exploitation, and social degradation. All of them from the same enemy. The government has failed us. You can't deny that. Anytime you live in the 20th century, 1964, and you walking around here singing, "We shall overcome," the government has failed. This is part of what's wrong with you. You do too much singing. Today it's time to stop singing and start swinging. You can't sing up on freedom, but you can swing up on some freedom. Cassius Clay can sing, but singing didn't help him to become the heavyweight champion of the world. Swinging helped him to become. So this government has failed us. The government itself has failed us. And the white liberals who have been posing as our friends have failed us. And once we see that all these other sources to which we've turned have failed, we stop turning to them and turn to ourselves. We need a self-help program. Do it yourself philosophy. Do it right now philosophy. It's already too late philosophy. This is what you and I need to get with. And the only way we're going to solve our problem is with a self-help program. Before we can get a self-help program started, we have to have a self-help philosophy. Black nationalism is a self-help philosophy. What's so good about it, you can stay right in the church where you are and still take black nationalism as your philosophy. You can stay in any kind of civic organization that you belong to and still take black nationalism as your philosophy. You can be an atheist and still take black nationalism as your philosophy. This is a philosophy that eliminates the necessity for division and argument. Because if you're black, you should be thinking black. And if you're black and you're not thinking black at this late date, well, I'm sorry for you. Once you change your philosophy, you change your thought pattern. Once you change your thought pattern, you change your attitude. Once you change your attitude, it changes your behavior pattern. And then you go on into some action. As long as you got a sit-down philosophy, you'll have a sit-down thought pattern. And as long as you think that old sit-down thought, you'll be in some kind of sit-down action. They'll have you sitting in everywhere. It's not so good to refer to what you're going to do as a sit-in. That right there castrates you. Right there it brings you down. What goes with it? Think of the image of someone sitting. An old woman can sit. An old man can sit. A chump can sit. A coward can sit. Anything can sit. Well, you and I have been sitting long enough, and it's time today for us to start doing some standing and some fighting to back that up. When we look at other parts of this earth upon which we live, we find that black, brown, red, and yellow people in Africa and Asia are getting their independence. They're not getting it by singing, "We shall overcome." No, they're getting it through nationalism. It is nationalism that brought about the independence of the people in Asia. Every nation in Asia gained its independence through the philosophy of nationalism. Every nation on the African continent that has gotten its independence brought it about through the philosophy of nationalism. And it will take black nationalism to bring about the freedom of 22 million Afro-Americans here in this country where we have suffered colonialism for the past 400 years. America is just as much a colonial power as England ever was. America is just as much a colonial power as France ever was. In fact, America is more so a colonial power than they, because she's a hypocritical colonial power behind it. What do you call second-class citizenship? Why, that's colonization. Second-class citizenship is nothing but 20th century slavery. How are you going to tell me you're a second-class citizen? They don't have second-class citizenship in any other government on this earth. They just have slaves and people who are free. Well, this country is a hypocrite. They try and make you think they set you free by calling you a second-class citizen. No, you're nothing but a 20th century slave. Just as it took nationalism to remove colonialism from Asia and Africa, it'll take black nationalism today to remove colonialism from the backs and the minds of 22 million Afro-Americans here in this country. And 1964 looks like it might be the year of the ballot or the bullet. Why does it look like it might be the year of the ballot or the bullet? Because Negroes have listened to the trickery and the lies and the false promises of the white man now for too long. And they're fed up. They've become disenchanted. They've become disillusioned. They've become dissatisfied. And all of this has built up frustrations in the black community that makes the black community throughout America today more explosive than all of the atomic bombs the Russians can ever invent. Whenever you got a racial powder keg sitting in your lap, you're in more trouble than if you had an atomic powder keg sitting in your lap. When a racial powder keg goes off, it doesn't care who it knocks out the way. Understand this, it's dangerous. And in 1964, this seems to be the year. Because what can the white man use now to fool us? After he put down that march on Washington, and you see all through that now, he tricked you, had you marching down to Washington. Yes, had you marching back and forth between the feet of a dead man named Lincoln and another dead man named George Washington, singing "We Shall Overcome." He made a chump out of it. He made a fool out of it. He made you think you were going somewhere, and you end up going nowhere but between Lincoln and Washington. So today our people are disillusioned. They've become disenchanted. They've become dissatisfied. And in their frustrations, they want action. And in 1964, you'll see this young black man, this new generation.
Yeah. The ballot or the bullet? The ballot or the bullet? That speech, I never forgot that speech. I was gonna do a parody of that speech, and it was gonna be an offshoot of Gil Scott-Heron. I was gonna do a parody. I was gonna do a parody of Gil Scott-Heron, but it was gonna be in the style of the ballad or the bullet. But I said, that's very challenging, and if people don't catch the reference, it'd be all in vain. Gil Scott-Heron had the song, "The Revolution Will Not Be Televised." And I did snatch the acapella off the original tune of Gil Scott-Heron. So I probably could play that without getting flagged too. Welcome to the show. It's going down in Minneapolis, but it's going down everywhere. It's going down even in foreign countries. It's going down in South Africa. It's going down everywhere. It's going down in Hong Kong. See, like Gil Scott-Heron said, the revolution will not be televised. It will not be televised, but it will be digitized. If that song is played on terrestrial radio, if it's played on college radio, if it's played on public radio, there's a $3,000 fine for playing the Gil Scott-Heron song, "The Revolution Will Not Be Televised." I wonder why. Because it is nothing like that other skit called "I'm Mad as Hell and I'm Not Going to Take It Anymore." People actually jumped out the window, committed suicide when that was aired. Now, they have a right to be hostile. Their people has been persecuted. And it's interesting that it's going down in Minneapolis, where it's very, it's a lot of mixed people there. It's very, very mixed there. Just bear with me a moment. And I'm not going to keep you long. I know it's late. And I just got some new weapons of mass production. I got to open the box. I got some projects I got to finish. some intro, some intros and some logos. But this is interesting. I'm just looking through some files right now. I don't want to play the Gil Scott Heron piece, but I will. I did use it for someone's interlude, but I didn't start it from the beginning. Yeah, China. Yeah, 2020 is off the hook, but 2020 is an interesting number. I like how it sounds. I like what it's about in numerology. I like the ring to it. I like how it looks. you know, and the pendulum is swinging the other way. But like I said, it's a lot of people who are just clout chasing. They shouting out their channels. They trying to get subscribers and views. They're looting, and and it's crazy. And I play in two music channels at the same time. When I play in this music, I'm actually playing two audio channels at the same time. It's weird. How do I get all these things open? Hmm. See, with this OBS, you can do a lot of mixing live. You can mix videos, you can mix media, just like Flash, the software Flash. This reminds me of Flash, and I have a history with Flash. I wasn't the best at using Flash, but this is a more simplified Flash, and it's really cool. I used to have Flash Professional 8 when Macromedia and Adobe merged together. So, like I said, I use part of this speech for somebody's interlude, but I feel compelled to play the whole song, and I'm gonna mix it live for the show of Gil Scott Heron. The Revolution Will Not Be Televised, because fortunately on the internet you won't get a fine by the FCC. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I say the revolution will be digitized, because it is. There was a lady named I think her name was Sarah, and she made a song called "Your Revolution Will Not Happen Between These Thighs," and the FCC banned her record too without listening to it, because they thought that she was saying the same thing that Gil Scott Heron was saying, but she was not saying what he was saying. It was a message to hip hop artists, to male artists, saying that in your music, and talk down about women in your music. And they banned it, and she went to New York Supreme Court, Superior Court, and protested the ban on her record, because somebody did get fined for playing it. She was on a record called Ninja Tune compilation, and the same label as Jay Dilla and Madlib and a couple other people. And she had it overturned. Gil Scott Heron didn't have his overturned, but she got hers overturned. And she also been in a Lillian Thompson tribute show before, and she's from out here. Sarah, I can't think of her last name. That what is that sound? Everybody, hey, oh, I remember when I was younger, college professors, people don't protest anymore. Nah, they just trying to reenact a protest. It's a protest reenactment. You know what I'm saying? And now, not only His Lordship is in surround sound and HD, His Lordship is now. I pressed the wrong, but that was on me. I pressed the wrong button. My bad. My bad. But yeah, I'm in 3D now. Your boy's in 3D. What did it say? I was quoting Buffalo Springfield earlier. Everybody look what's going down. I remember that song. Um, I remember that. I think that was around the same time they had this protest in Chicago, and a lot of people went to trial. A lot of people got busted because they took over this park. And I saw on YouTube. I mean, on Netflix, I saw a animated recreation of the trial, and it was deep. There's a lot of great political songs and poetry, especially from the last poets of Gil Scott Heron. You know, yeah. I mean, if you don't get up out of your seats after listening to the last poets, I don't know what's gonna do it. I got last poets on deck right now, but of course, you know, the censors will pick it up eventually. Yeah, is the audio okay? His his lordship got a new look, and I just got some new equipment, but I haven't programmed it. It has nothing on it, so I can't go live on it or whatever. Oh, good, because I'm about to go deep, as your boy would say. Let's talk about what's the difference between this riot and any other riot. Okay, this riot, the NSA know everything that was done. That's why the police don't have to be present. The NSA captured everything. You see what I'm saying? The NSA took a whole, you know what I'm saying? They got the whole thing. Anybody who had a smartphone on their person involved in the protests in Minneapolis already snitched on themselves. Anybody that showed their face, they went live on their channel, they took pictures, they posted, they in the camera talking about F the police. They all snitched on themselves. And if it take 2 years to knock on everybody's door to detain them and possibly incarcerate them, they will take those 2 years. If it takes 535 days, and then all of a sudden you hear, no, that was me. That was me. Look, yeah, they backed down the police and all of that stuff, but they didn't back down the NSA. Shh. That was me. Shh. Shh. Look, if they have a smartphone on their person, that's no different than standing in front of a surveillance camera. Do you understand? Google know where they were at. Google knows the searches they done, because there is a way for you don't have to have a VPN blocker. There's a new crypto type of VPN searches you can do. You just have to pay. You have to pay for it in cryptocurrency, but the cryptocurrency is super cheap. And when you do your searches, it automatically deduct from that money, and everything you do would be anonymous on the browser. And but if you're doing searches on Safari, on everything, including Brave, even though you don't have to worry about being tracked and ads and stuff, but there's only one browser system where you can browse anonymously, but you have to pay for that ability in very cheap cryptocurrency. And I guess Observer have heard of it. A lot of people haven't heard of it. And please go to the Coinbase website to learn more about it, so you can browse anonymously without everybody all up in your business. Now, the same way when I go out this door, Google would tell me how long it would take for me to get to my next location. It already knows where I'm going, and it's going to tell me how long to get there. So anybody that have a Gmail, anybody that has a Gmail, you're in trouble. Anybody that has a Facebook, you're in trouble. Facial recognition, I don't even know how you all snitched on yourselves. You all incriminated yourselves. And now one person has died because he was looting and he went into the basement to get the more expensive alcohol of a liquor store, and he didn't make it back out the store in time. And so he died in the burning store. And the only thing those people did to try to save him is throw bottled water through the windows. You see what I'm saying? So, misinformed, untaught, radical, primitive revolutionaries who are posers, who are acting, who are high off drugs, who wants to, get views and look cool and yelling out their channel names. You all snitched on yourself. Yeah, I mean, if you don't want to go through the crypto system, you can get a VPN blocker. Because I'm gonna tell you, what's more important than blocking your VPN is like, let's say you're African, right? Or you're in China, or you in Africa. You're not going to be able to get Google revenue or AdSense revenue for your channel. So if you're broadcasting from Africa and you live in Africa, you got to make YouTube think that you're in London. And if YouTube think you're in London, you can still collect your AdSense and your YouTube revenue. So that's what the VPN blocker or the switcheroo. It's just like call forwarding. A guy invented call forwarding, and AT&T didn't want the technology. They wanted the technology as you as an employee giving them the technology and working for them, but they didn't want to share the patent with you. There's a guy named Walter. There's a documentary called Walter, the Would-Be Genius, and Walter was getting $1 a foot for putting wire up for the phone system back when AT&T had a sanctioned monopoly on the phone system. And this is a sidebar. This is a sidebar. We're gonna get back to the riots and stuff, but this is, but the title is "The Revolution Will Be Digitized," so this is about technology a little bit. So Walter was a great engineer. Hello, Maribel. Welcome to the show. There's a documentary called Walter the Would Be Genius. It might still be on Netflix. He used to get paid $1 a foot to put wire up, but he was a great engineer. And he had all these ideas and inventions that he had on paper. And everything that he invented on paper worked in the physical world. And they even asked him, how do you know that your inventions work? And Walter said, well, they work on paper first. Okay? So, of course, they're going to work in real life. And, oh, yeah, and Maribel, I hope that your husband is doing better. I hope everything is all good at home, too. So check this out. Since the government sanctioned the AT&T monopoly, and all other phone companies had to go through AT&T, and they had these laws set up where, believe it or not, people know a lot of things and heard of a lot of things, but I don't know if you ever heard of this. There was a law against taking the phone that you got from AT&T, and if you put it on top of an answer machine. Back in the day, you had to have a separate machine to answer your calls, and you sit the phone on top of it. You take it off the hook and you sit it on the machine to answer your phone when you're not at home, and that was illegal. And touch tone was not invented yet, but Walter invented call waiting, call forwarding. He invented touch tone, and every time he invented something and used it, he went to the pen for that. The AT&T did not want the call forwarding technology. They wanted it for themselves. So guess who Walter gave the technology to? Hold on. I can speak from experience. They say young people, I was under 30 then, and I am now, and I still would have acted up. I'm not blaming the riots on young people. The riots is people, all races, all ages together. They all are subject to the same media and brainwashing and indoctrination, and they all a victim of the media anyway. So Walter gave the technology to the mafia, and so the mafia could have their gambling homes, their gambling shacks, and when the police would raid their gambling shack, they would be at a different location because they're not at the location that the phone call would arrive to. And they used his technology for 10 years. They gave Walter a lavish life. They paid for his kids to go to Catholic school and everything. But even though Walter's son went to private school, because of the association with the mafia, he had a fascination with the mob, because there's a price for everything. You can do stuff just like these rappers that make the drill music and stuff like that, or the Arabs and the Yemenites and the Muslims and the Chaldeans that have liquor stores in the ghetto. There's going to be a price to pay. There's a backlash. Your kids, you think they're not paying attention to the little thugs and stuff coming in there and the people, and they are fascinated with those people. And when those kids grow up, they try to emulate the customers. You see what I'm saying? They try to emulate I've seen it happen. I went to a store one time that I used to go to when I was younger, and then I came back years later, and the kids had grown up, and they was hella thuggish, and the parents were like on liquor or something, and they let the kids run the show, and the store had a darkness to it, And I said, wow, because when they first got there, they were super religious and they were by the book and they was just, we're going to sell this stuff and make our money and send the money back home. But the customers had an influence on the family. And yeah, they like to call you cousin and take a Polaroid picture and put your picture on top of the cigarette box so you can they see that we all get along. But at the same time, they're selling you weapons. That's where some of the black people got the weapons from in the hood. The people from to the Middle East are selling weapons under the table in the liquor store. You see what I'm saying? Um, uh, hey, what's up, Key Dad, man? How you doing? At the beginning of the show, I played a speech that we all know and love called "The Ballad of the Bullet." I showed some imagery from the murder of that the police did, and some imagery of the protests. And right now, I'm on the sidebar. I'm talking about AT&T phone system monopoly, and I'm talking about an individual named Walter Wright, and then we'll get back to the protesters, my opinion of some of the protesters. But Walter, he refused to give his inventions over to AT&T. So he got indicted for helping the mob use a call forwarded, and this was before it was available to the average citizen. And the first time he got indicted, it was over call forwarding, and then they tried to help him out. All he had to do is say he plead the fifth. When he was in court, they said, "Are you saying you want to plead the fifth?" And he said, "No, I'm not pleading the fifth. My name is Walter so and so, and I invented call forwarding." And they gave him some years, and he haven't seen his son in so many years. But when he was coming in, his son was getting out, and that was the first time they seen each other in like 20 years, and they were passing each other in the walkway. And his son became even though he had the best schools because the mafia was paying Walter, his son got influenced by the mob. That was my point. And his son became one of the top cat burglars for the mafia. So Walter Wright was a great engineer with all these inventions. He started experimenting with touch tone, and when they took him to court over that, they said that we have proof that he tried to use touch tone with our phone lines 5 times, and then he had to go to jail over that. He said, I'm still trying hard to make a video. Wait on my snow globe mic. Waiting on my snow globe mic. And that's why I said 3 weeks, because I'm trying hard. Low key. All right, it's all good. And if I can help you, observer, let me know. I actually got another computer in the box right now, waiting to be programmed, but I'm putting it off until I finish this show. But yeah. So Walter Wright had to go back to jail again over touch tone and answer machines and call waiting, call forwarding, and unfortunately he caught cancer in his groin area, and he had to be medically castrated in order to live. And when he got really late in his age, they finally gave him 29 patents, but he probably only had 5 years to live. And that was a white man. They did a white man that way. They did him. They treated him in that terrible way. You see what I'm saying? So it's like it's a class system. It's it's the 1%. They tried to even the distance between the poor and the middle class, where it's just a speed bump on the road. But when you get to the higher class, it's a big Antarctica ice wall to get to the top of there. But once you jump down, matter of fact, when you look at the level of, like the middle class and the poor class, you can actually see on the graph the distance between them, but you can't see the top of the 1% on the graph. You just see a thing going up. You have to stand way back. You know what I'm saying? And that's a shame. So AT&T did get sued for having a monopoly, and it was a huge settlement. And but it was a shame because at that time the government wanted them to have a monopoly. It was sanctioned by Congress and and all the phone companies, especially on the East Coast, had to go through AT&T and only could use AT&T phone lines and wires. So those were different times. You needed many FBI agents and wiretapping abilities and surveillance and hidden cameras, and you had to hide in a truck nearby, like a hot dog truck, ice cream truck, or a pet grooming truck. But now, right on your person, in your hand, you are under surveillance and you are snitching on yourself. The things that keep track of you and what you're doing is not monitored by a human being. Is what is going on is it's being stored as information. So when somebody needs to obtain that information, all they have to do is tap into it. These are self-made libraries, and this information is held for a certain amount of time, and then it disappears. So wherever there are cell phone towers and Wi-Fi connections, everybody's been confirmed of their location and what time they was there. You see what I'm saying? Even if there was no such thing as Google, and you never had Google Maps, and you never had a Google email, and you wasn't using an Android phone, they can still pinpoint where you were and at the time you was there, and then the fire department can say they will know the exact time the fire started, how old the fire is, and all of that stuff. And it's going to take them a couple of years, but they're going to be able to catch more than 50% of the people involved in the riots. They're out here where I'm at, there was a project area, and these people from the projects went to the suburbs, and they walked into this store, a True Religion store, and there was a mob of them. It was like 40 people. They grabbed as many True Religion G's as they could, and they left. And the people in the store was afraid to stop them or talk to them. They called the police, and then like a month later, a charter bus pulled up. The sheriff department, the Secret Service, the city police, and some state troopers pulled up. They arrested 50 people and put them on the charter bus, and they still haven't returned back to the neighborhood. You see what I'm saying? Even the Secret Service was involved. So when we had the Rodney King riots, there was no NSA. All right? When they had the riots in Detroit in 1968, there was no NSA. When they had the Tulsa, Oklahoma the massacre, there was no NSA. This riot is on the same level as the Detroit 1968 riot. This is way past Rodney King. This is on a way higher level than the Rodney King riot. This is on the level of Detroit 1968. And I heard people say, well, now they know if they mess with us, if they don't treat us right, this is what we're going to do. Well, first of all, you only destroyed the areas that you have access to. You only just destroyed your own resources and neighborhoods. The National Guard is already in the upper class neighborhood standing guard. So you only destroy and damage the areas that you frequent and you have access to. But the other areas where everybody else go is protected and untouched. And you snitched on yourself, just like if you were sitting on Vlad TV. I just saw another dude that's like Vlad, and this black dude was on the show telling his business. And I was like, and then he said, well, I did the time and everything, so, I could talk about it. And I was like, but if he was on a black podcaster show, even though he snitched on himself, his people would try to kill the black podcaster, even though he snitched on himself. But when all these people sit on Vlad TV and snitch on themselves, don't nobody say nothing about Vlad or anything, and he don't have to worry about, watching his back. Do you know even the guys who did the movie American Me, the lead actor has to have a bodyguard for life because the Mexican gang said, we don't rape people in jail, and we didn't appreciate you portraying us raping guys in jail. We don't do that. So they killed everybody. They killed the person who wrote the book, the director. The only person that's really alive is the main actor, and he has to have a bodyguard for life from American Me. Another sidebar. But what I'm saying is, yeah, you could say Vlad is an agent. It's possible. If the guy from the Gong Show can be an agent, you see what I'm saying? Vlad can be an agent. And you never know when you commandeer to serve your country. The best people to have work for you in the agency is the people that you least expect. So entertainers and athletes and all kind of people could possibly be an agent. But like I said, did nobody force anybody? The only reason people are on Vlad TV is because he get so many views. A lot of people don't even know his history or what he used to do. All they know is he gets a lot of views and people listen. And if so and so is on there, then he must be cool. And if I'm bigger than him or I'm on his level, I need to be on there too. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's possible that he's an agent, but I just can't believe how people feel so comfortably. They don't really. They say, well, it's not TV, so shoot, you know what I'm saying? No. This is the World Wide Web. Get it in your thick skull. Your TV is either regional or national. It could be bi-coastal. It could be what you call it. It could be played in different cities at the same time. I forgot the term for it. Syndicated. But when you're on the internet, it's worldwide. So you're not just snitching on yourself to people that's just into street culture or just into hip hop. The whole world is watching that's curious about you. You know what I'm saying? You can't blame the man for your poor image in society. You are proud of your poor image, and you're more than willing to reinforce that and promote that, just so people will know that you ain't no joke and you was the one. You was that dude. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. People are getting hip, yo. Vlad, and they've been calling him. Look, Vlad is not a snitch. You go on Vlad and snitch on yourself. That's why Vlad can sleep at night. Nobody begged you, forced you, or paid you. You went on Vlad and snitched on yourself. You can't blame him for that. You shouldn't want to kill him for that. That's all I'm saying. And there's like 20 Vlads on YouTube. I don't know why these guys, why people feel so open and comfortable with them and validate them. When you're on their show, they're not giving you credit, you're giving them credibility. You the one that grew up in that environment, you the one that did what you did. And we need somebody more than Vlad to say, yo, that wasn't cool. But there was another dude that did. He checked himself. He said, "Yeah, I was young, and blah blah blah." But then he tried to say, this was another show, a different person like Vlad. He tried to say, "Yeah, but it was some bullshit. I could have got off." So he was proud of the. He admitted to doing what he did, but he said it was messed up how they considered it kidnapping and blah blah blah, and he could have got off if he could afford a better lawyer. So really, he wasn't telling the young folks that the whole thing was messed up. And I don't want to be too specific, but it was somebody connected to somebody who just got out recently, and they were trying to explain to the host that the dude really didn't grow up. He grew up in the hood, but he wasn't in the hood. He wasn't of the hood. And he didn't have to deal with people that are in gangs, had to deal with, you know what I'm saying? Because some people are born into it, I guess, like they say. But anyway, I see what you mean. Vlad informs. Look, Vlad is no different than Phil Donahue. That was before your time. But people would get on Phil Donahue's show and just, you know what I'm saying? But I like Phil Donahue, but Vlad is the new Phil Donahue. but if there was a person of a different culture or a different race, like another white dude that I thought was okay, like a good host, I like Charlie Rose. I like some of these people are out the game. I like Merv Griffin and stuff, but they're out the game. I liked Phil Donahue, but when he interviewed Farrakhan and Shiraz Ali and stuff like that, I knew he was heading out. And what he accomplished in his whole career, Oprah had accomplished in 1 year. You know what I'm saying? Vlad is an informant, and that makes jokes about that, and I don't think Vlad was really like that, but he asked questions ignorantly, and he asked questions with naiveness. Well, it's just too much. And what's up, Key Dad, man? I hope he's still around. He's he's just asking the questions, and he don't got time to know. It's so many codes and way of living a different way. I don't know why people keep saying it's them against us and they're killing us, when all these different cities, these black people live by different codes, and it got different connections to different things. You even got freshwater Geechee and saltwater Geechee. You know what I'm saying? But you Geechee, but you're gonna divide yourself because you on another island near freshwater, and then the other islands near saltwater. So y'all different when you all came from the same place. You know what I'm saying? You got, when there are parades in New Orleans and stuff of these different subgroups of black races, and they have their own flag and color and fashion, and you know what I'm saying? We are not one tribe, but we do have a lot of things in common. You see what I'm saying? If this was the 60s, a brother from Lansing, Michigan is not the same as a brother from Flint, Michigan. You see what I'm saying? A brother from Ann Arbor, Michigan ain't the same as a brother. You can't say all brothers in Michigan are the same. You can't say all black people in the United States is the same. All Africans in Africa are not the same. They don't even call themselves African. And when South Africa was in trouble and they had apartheid, I didn't see 53 other states coming to South Africa. Not states, I'm sorry. I pulled the LJ. When South Africa was dealing with apartheid, I did not see 53 other countries going down there to break that up. You see what I'm saying? Oh, good, Key. I'm glad you're still here. I do not. It's I like that word. It's innate to be tribal, and it's dangerous. It shortens it creates more obstacles and a false equivalency and a false illusion of togetherness, and that will allow people to take advantage of you, especially when people are fake woke and hustling the woke community or the conscious community. You see what I'm saying? You let somebody give you a name and name you like you a new puppy that they brought home, and you don't even know what the meaning of the name is. You know, I remember that one lady was named Impersecnic, and this year I just figured out who Impersecnic was. Impersecnic is actually Hathor, and they are a dual. It's a dual person when Impersecnic is peaceful and loving and kind and sweet, but Amun Ra can turn Impersecnic into Hathor whenever he needs her to be mighty and strong, because she is a mighty strong warrior who likes to drink blood out of her enemy's skull. But other than that, she's a sweetheart. So Vlad know people make jokes about him, and the video isn't that funny in parts, but it's Vlad's channel. Well, Vlad don't need any more promotion or publicity. I don't know him personally, so I can't attack him as a person. I'm not here to defend him. He cannot help it that people think the ice in the white liquor stores are colder than the ice in the black liquor store. You can have a black liquor store and a white liquor store across the street from each other, but the ice box are better in the white liquor store. Their ice is colder. But we all know that ice freezes at the same temperature. It doesn't matter what refrigerator you're using. You see what I'm saying? And I remember a neighborhood I lived in, black people will walk past the black liquor store and go to the Arab liquor store, which is an extra block down the street, because every time you went there, whatever you bought was a different price, because they didn't have a set price, and they would forget whatever they was charging for it, and then they'll have a different family member sitting in for that day, and you could buy the same thing 3 days in a row and get 3 different prices. But the black liquor store gets their stuff legitimately from the distributor. Trucks pull up all day and drop off beer and all kind of stuff, and in order for the black liquor store to make money, they have to charge a legitimate markup price to make a profit. And black people go, "Oh, you too high. I'm going 2 blocks down to the Arab store." You see what I'm saying? And so, when you get ready to riot and get angry and burn stuff up, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of things to think about. And this riot is different than any other riot on this caliber. And I would love to compare this riot to the Detroit riot of 1968, because a cop killed a brother the same way. And I don't know if you saw the movie 1968, but me and my father went to see the movie because he was actually there. You see what I'm saying? And now the problem is technology is involved. We didn't have technology before. Now technology is involved. So when we were more analog, they didn't know who was who, right? They didn't know who was driving or nothing. Yeah, Ferguson was deep, but imagine, Ferguson, I think maybe the i4 iPhone was out then. You know where we at today. We got great 4G technology. People are lucky that 5G is not on a mass scale. There's only financial districts in certain areas that have 5G. But these people, they all snitched on themselves and don't even know it. Now they have a book, basically. Yeah, technology increased in live stream, or we didn't know how. Well, look, we on the cusp of 5G technology, right? But 4G technology is pretty good. So when you snap a picture using the Instagram app and you don't use your phone to take the picture, but you take the picture using the app camera mode, then you don't even own that picture because you use Instagram to take the picture. If you use Facebook to take the picture, you don't even own that picture. That picture is not really private. Um, Facebook has face recognition, and when you was going live on Facebook or whatever you was doing, your phone company knew where you were. Any app like Google or Google Maps knew where you were. And Google always track you. They even when you catch a plane, you can see on the map of them tracking you. It's a different color when you're in the air, and then it's a different color when you land. They know when you take off and land, and when you on foot or driving. Um, and so, and if you're the type of person that like to do all this BS, like Snapchat and Twitter and all those apps will confirm you don't have an alibi anymore. Look, there was a love spat between two FBI agents, and at that time, they didn't even have OnStar and LoJack. Not for on a mass scale. You had to have an expensive car. So this agent, she was mad at her boyfriend. Now she knew the car had a tracking system. So what she did was she met him out by the river or the lake. She killed her boyfriend, drove him to the hood, and drove through the hood, and then left the car by the lake or something like that, right? And they came and arrested her. You know why they came and arrested her? Because she the only one that know, or another agent. Well, only the agents know that the car have a tracking system. So she tried to make it look like he got kidnapped, and they took him to the hood, and then they took him and dumped him somewhere. So only a person who knew what kind of technology they have could have done it, and that's how she got busted for killing her boyfriend. You see what I'm saying? So today, people got these. They gotta have the latest phone, the greatest version, the highest, the new iPhone, and all that shit. All you doing is giving them better surveillance of you. Your Safari, your Google, all of that stuff is everything on your phone is tracking you, and there's no way to cut it off. And if you can't take your battery out your phone is never cut off. And if you're doing searches or using GPS to get to a location, to protest, to loot, if you're trying to find out where Target is so you can go there and rob Target, you did a search on how to get to Target, and by the time you got to that location, there was damage. They got cameras and everything, so they know what time the damage was caused. They got cameras. Big Brother is here. 1984, 220 is the new 1984. Big Brother is the NSA. Anybody who had a smartphone on a person already snitched on themselves. It's just a matter of time. Now, there was a guy who had a umbrella, a gas mask, and he wore all black. and he was busting windows out and doing all kind of stuff. And you know what they tried to say? That he was an agent trying to make things worse so the media and the police can use that against the rioters. No, this is a person who was very smart, who they should have asked questions, because this person knows that Big Brother is watching. I bet you if they would have searched him or detained him, he wouldn't even have had a phone on his body. Okay? He probably didn't even have a phone on his body. He probably had a pager on him, and about 1 million people in the United States still use a pager. That's right. If you got any old pagers, if it's the right brand and model, you can have them turned back on. But if somebody calls you or paid you, basically, they have to pay 35 cents in most cases. But you can, I think you could pay that fee for them, where you could pay up by the year and people don't have to pay when they paid you. But everybody's doing this show covering the riots, right? So I just want to do an alternative show to show you how this riot is different than any other riot previously. But I do want to compare it to the Detroit 1968 riot, because somebody said, well, now they know not to fuck with us and what we'll do if they treat us like that again. Well, they don't know the history of riots. They don't know about the riot in Chicago, where they had to not only bring in the military force, and you know America never used military on their own soil, but but when they raided Louisville, well, not Louisville, but Kentucky, over the moonshine mills, and they wanted to stop them from moonshining, they did bring in the military force. And that was against white people, and those white people do not consider themselves white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. They feel that they came here before the Mayflower, and they do not participate in the census, and they have hung a census taker before and carved the word "fed" on the census taker's chest. Okay. They tried to bring the railroad through Kentucky. They attacked the people working on the trains, the Chinese and everything. They tried to stop moonshining. And what happened was some people were able to go legit, and all the moonshiners switched to marijuana, which was a much safer thing to do to make and sell, because moonshine rigs, sometimes they blow up and kill people. So yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of sidebars today. I'm sorry, and I'm gonna wrap it up real soon. But yeah, in Detroit, there was a shutdown, there was a curfew. All of this is going to happen in Minneapolis. So nobody's allowed after a certain time. And there was a couple that was driving past curfew, and they were at an intersection, and a National Guard tank rolled over their car and killed the people inside. Another person went on their balcony. I think it was a female. She tried to light a cigarette. They thought it was gunfire, because for some reason, we as minorities, sometimes we don't see the big picture. I have to remind people all the time, it's a pandemic. It's a pandemic. That's what they go, whoa, well, it's a pandemic. You know what I'm saying? People in this riot, they don't know that they put their life at risk. A third of those people in the riot is actually going to get sick or die. More than 50% of the people in the riot is going to jail within the next year, when they get around to getting to that person, because it's going to take time to go through all the data, because this is an experiment. So when we do have another moment of civil unrest or a modern day civil war, they're going to be able to use that same exercise on a small scale to deal with everybody else involved on a large scale. You see what I'm saying? You could cover your face all you want. You can have nicknames and fake avatars and all kind of shit. But if you got a smartphone on your person, Your phone has two IDs tags. There's just like your car have a VIN number. Your phone has a VIN number. It's a different name for it. But there's one that you could take with you and put in another phone. It's like an ID tag if you want to switch from one phone to another, like changing shoes. But there's another code that sticks with the phone no matter who owns it. And the phone tower knows where that phone is, and it keeps a record. That has nothing to do with human beings. It's all artificial intelligence. So, and when you are walking past these businesses and these cafes that have Wi-Fi, they're confirming what the phone towers knew about you. The phone towers are saying, yeah, he was here at this time in this area. And then when you go past a business or a home, the Wi-Fi says, yeah, he was over here and he went that way. Facial recognition is real. The iPhone didn't switch from fingerprints for nothing. Yeah, but right. And Google offers some kind of software for finding people identities too from their face. And I think it's open source. I'm not sure, but you're absolutely right. I tried to get a laptop today, and I didn't want to. I couldn't get the one I wanted, which had fingerprint unlock and stuff. But there's a shortage on laptops because the store that usually sell it is closed because of the virus thing. So all the business went next door to this other chain store, which actually have cheaper laptops, but their laptops are more, people who are in the business buy their laptops there versus buying it at a family store next door. You know what I'm saying? The family store makes everything look pretty and they have so many on display, but people know that they can get a good laptop next door and it'll be efficient, But sometimes the name of a store can be misleading. Like if you have to choose between Best Buy and Home Office Depot, well, Best Buy makes it seem like you get the Best Buy. These rides are becoming too familiar. They are, but you really need to understand that this is not your ordinary riot, because in Detroit, like I said, a lady tried to light her lighter on the balcony and they shot her because they thought she was firing a gun. Another couple was rolled over by a tank because they were out past curfew when they went through an intersection. This is before smartphones and stuff like that. Now, whether the police are there or not, the police could fall back. The police could go to another location for additional training and to have meetings, because everybody involved in the riot is already accounted for and noted. They're already noted and counted for. So let them do whatever they're going to do, and the smart police will deal with them later. In the book 1984, they had oval television sets, and the television sets were smart TVs. This book was written before television was invented. This book, there was no CCTV, there was no TV when this book was written. But yet in the book, they had these telespeak TVs. They were called telespeaks. And people would be arrested by the TV. The TV would speak to them and say, you are under arrest. We'll be there in a minute. Do not attempt to leave or escape. Just stand there and we'll come get you. And you'll be okay. But if you try to escape or whatever, then that's your ass. But you are under arrest. Stand there and wait for us to get there. You see what I'm saying? Samson already admitted to saying that they listen to your conversations. If you're standing near a Samsung Smart TV, they're listening to your conversation for advertisers and stuff like that. And they already admitted to that, and that's going to make them a leading brand later on because they admitted that early, but the other companies have not admitted what Samsung has admitted. You see what I'm saying? And it's like a chain reaction. That's why the question, does art imitate life or does life imitate art, will never be answered. Hey, what's up, Reefa in the building? Right? Um, yeah. See, this is what the reason why I stopped listening to terrestrial radio is because I used to hear music in the club first, then I heard it on the radio 8 months later, 9 months later. Now I hear music on the radio first, and then I hear it in the club. So that means that those club DJs gave up and gave in, and they just want to be liked, and it's too many DJs for them to push the envelope because they can fire you. There's no DJ union. They can fire you and get another DJ overnight, and soon they're gonna bring the glass booth DJ booth back. Mark my words, they're gonna bring the glass booth DJ, because a long time ago DJs used to be behind the glass in a booth. They're gonna bring that back. They're gonna tint the windows, and because music is so predictable and the DJs are not playing music, they're not changing the playlist that the radio has. They actually listen to the radio and copy the playlist. They're going to tint the windows of the booth, and then they're going to have the software DJ the music without the DJ, and the voice will be pre-recorded. The little response thing and the little, you know what I'm saying? Because even out here in Southern California, out in the suburbs, all the audio on the radio that play the club music and stuff like that is pre-recorded, because after 5 o'clock there are no DJ personalities at the radio station. After 5 o'clock, it's all automated. You see what I'm saying? This is happening all over right now. They're just not reporting it. You see what I'm saying? They're not reporting it. It is happening internationally, because what we don't know is that they're waiting for us to do something. And when we do something, they will mimic it. So whatever you want to do, if we want to revolutionize, we want to riot, we want to start the Civil War, we want to get it started, they will mimic that. We just got to give the go ahead. So who knew that Minneapolis would be the catalyst, the one that's really setting it off? You know what I'm saying? Who knew that? But the reason why this is not going to happen again for a while is because they're going to make an example out of all the people in Minneapolis that was involved in the riot, because some people have died, and they're going to consider that homicide. You see what I'm saying? Some people have died. And a lot of property has been damaged. And the cold part is, even if the family sue the police over the event, it's the public's money, not the police money, but the public's money that's going to pay for the damages. So not only you damaged your own community, now they're going to use your money to pay the family. You see what I'm saying? So you need to have your own neighborhood watch. You need to have your own guardian angel crew patrolling your own streets. All right? And if you're going to be a protester and you're going to cause anarchy, you need to follow the manual. You need to do your research. But if you're down there holding your phone at portrait, which I hate with a passion, you're holding your phone at portrait, you're shouting out your channel name and all of that stuff, and you're filming, how can you revolutionize with one hand and your other hand is on the phone? And then you're taking credit. Yeah, you see that over there? I did that. How stupid can you be? You see that right there? That was me. You see those grocery carts right there and the grocery carts? I did that. And then this one lady, she said, this lady was so attention hungry that she came back to the scene of the crime, to the scene of the murder with no shame. And she said, I was the one that filmed it. I was the one, as soon as it was over, I uploaded it. And that's how people knew. So you stood there and watched this brother be murdered. And you knew. Matter of fact, I wouldn't even complain about her or say anything, but when she said, and I quote, I was the one that posted the viral video. Now, who talks like that? Who speaks like that? So when she was filming him, she knew that there's a possibility that he might die. But there was a possibility that this video, when I post it, it's going to go viral. Oh my God, I'm going to be known. I'm going to be famous. What never crossed her mind is you stood there and watched him die. And the only thing you could do is yell and point your phone at him. That's not a revolution. That's not fight the power. That's not anything. And then you come back because you didn't get enough, I guess, having extra subs and going viral wasn't enough. You had to come back to the scene and put on a fake cry and talk out loud. Nobody was even talking to her. She started talking loud. I was the one. I don't know what to do. I posted the viral video. And now people see your face. This is the most foolish riot I ever seen in my life. If you want to study, all right, first of all, the Detroit riot, the reason why I keep bringing it up is because, let me close that point because I left that point so wide open and so vague. Let me seal that up so I can move over to Chicago. Detroit, they said, okay, black folks, you feeling powerful and you feel like you proved your point. Well, you can have this city. You fix it up. You won. You tore us up. You destroyed everything. We're scared of you. We can't touch you. We brought in the National Guard, but now we're out. We're gonna move further away. This is your city. Do what you will, right? Do if thou wilt. And those buildings stayed in ruins. I was born after the riots. I didn't understand why these buildings were damaged like this and why they wasn't being fixed. It stayed that way until I moved out of Detroit. I moved out of Detroit when I turned 9, and they did not repair stuff from the riots. It was still there, like they were monuments. So if these people in Minneapolis think that they're going to rebuild Target and all this stuff, they're not going to rebuild, and people are going to lose their jobs. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to transfer you to another Target in another city. You're out of luck. And if you want proof, we can look at the history of other protests. Detroit did not rebuild after that great riot, and it was a mighty riot. Even the massacre in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which I consider one of the most devastating stories in America in modern times, did not rebuild. Not one single house has been built. Not one business has been opened. That whole land is desolate and empty. All right. Now, closing that. So don't give me that excuse. Well, now they're going to know, when they fix the city back up, and they got insurance, so insurance going to cover the shit. And when they fix the city back up, they're going to treat us with more respect. They're going to know, no, they don't have to. They got the money. They can move away. They can do what's called white flight. But I like the fact that all races is coming together for this Minneapolis thing, and it seems like it's a very mixed city. You know what I'm saying? So let me see what you're saying. I personally think I personally think things will be calming down. We will know for certain tomorrow night. And what's this about? And people want to be known for the wrong reason. Exactly. Grown people acting like kids. First of all, I'm from Detroit, so I have to use Detroit as a reference. Uh, the police chased this guy on a motorcycle. While he was running from the police, he crashed into a house. He hit the side wall of the house so hard that his body went through the woods. His body went through the wood. So Detroit protested for 2 weeks straight. They drug cops out of their police car and beat them. When cops pulled up on the scene, they set fire to the police car. They pulled them out of the car and beat them. Detroit don't play that. Every year around Halloween, they have a thing called Hell Week for Halloween. They start burning homes for no reason at all. And so when they had that riot in 1968, because the cops came to the area where they are, gambling shacks and strip clubs, and they already know that this is the off the record part of the city. And they accosted this dude and asked him some questions, and they got into it with this dude, and they killed him. And that's what set it off, the Detroit riot of 1968. And yeah, people were looting and all of that stuff like before. And then in the movie, when the National Guard came in, there was a little girl in the window, and she moved the curtains, and they saw a shiny object, and they shot the little girl through the window. And I don't know if that's a true story. I mean, that was true, but the movie was based on a true story. And yeah, oh, cool. I'm glad you're listening, Reefa. So, yeah, so I'm saying in the LA Rodney King riot, in that little square zone they call Central Los Angeles, there is an imaginary line in the shape of a rectangle. You can have a map of LA, and you can draw with a marker the main streets that section off Central LA. If you are a person of color and your tags are bad, or you going through red lights, or you stop too hard at a stoplight, or you're driving through neighborhoods and it doesn't look like you're going anywhere, like you lost, you will get pulled over because you're outside the boundaries of your class. And if you don't pull over right away when they signal to you, it's a guaranteed ass whooping. So when Rodney King got beat up, nobody was surprised, because when they tell you to pull over, you pull over. Don't try to pull over in front of witnesses or wait for a street light. Pull your ass over. It's an unwritten law. So anyway, when they burnt down Los Angeles, they had many grocery stores, big grocery chains in central Los Angeles. To this day, no grocery chain has returned to central Los Angeles. No grocery chain has returned. So there's no, I don't know what's in LA, but there's no Lucky's, no Safeway, none of that. Okay? So if people think that things are going to get better after this riot, it's going to take a long time. If they think construction is going to start 2 weeks after the riot, look, that city looked bad before the riot. Why would they pump a bunch of money into that city to make it look better after the riots? They could take all that money and so-called insurance money or whatever and relocate to a different area and build that area brand spanking new. Just like Pflugerville, that's next to Austin, Texas. The real estate is really up now. If you would have got in years ago, it would have been great. So they start building up Pflugerville, where there's usually a flood watch, but it's really nice. The way they made something out of nothing. Pflugerville is a great place to buy into, and it's right next to Austin. You see what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is, they don't have to rebuild that. They can just find another area nearby, and then they could keep you out. And when you drift too far out of your zone, your class zone, you will be harassed and pulled over the same as you would before. But the areas of the people that's in the upper class, you could say the white folks or whatever, their areas are okay. And the National Guard is protecting those areas, the taxpayers, and they're protecting some of the chains if they can. And because this crowd is so diverse and there's so many white people and black people together and people that are half white or whatever, that's the only reason they have an open fire on the whole group already. But I tell you, once the National Guard step in, they already got the green light. And I guess these people never studied riots. They only seen it in the movies, which is not realistic. They might have seen Selma and all this stuff, and seen some stuff, but you need to look at specific riots. And one riot in particular is the riot in Chicago, where they had to bring in the Air Force to stop those black folks. All right? Because these people had training from being a soldier. These people knew how to make Molotov cocktails. They had the largest amount of sharpshooters in any riot that were black people was a part of. In Chicago, they had a bunch of sharpshooters. And one time, they had drugged up the chief of police, put him on a bicycle, sent him back to the other side, and once he got there, a sharpshooter had shot him. You see what I'm saying? And they had training videos and training caps on how to make Molotov cocktails and use jujitsu and all kind of stuff. So these people was not serious about rioting, and there's a fine line between civil unrest, a revolution, and a riot. Pick one. You know what I'm saying? Who you want to be. All right? And who was quiet? All those people that you would expect to have something to say, they were quiet. And even if they wasn't quiet, they don't have a platform to speak on. But who needs a platform? You got the internet now. You see what I'm saying? You have the internet. We're not in China. But yeah, you don't see Al Sharpton and Jesse and all these people, John Legend and all these people, or T.I. You see what I'm saying? So the revolution will not be televised, but it will be digitized. And when the revolution comes, it's going to be quite different. When the revolution comes, the Roots is going to be interviewing people, and the other guy is going to be playing a flute by himself, the usual host. All right. When the revolution comes, it's just going to be quite different. But this time, as long as you have a laptop, a smartphone, and you got these Wi-Fi cameras and all this stuff, and you think you cool because your mirror, the viewing window can bend when you film it down low, or you film it up high, you can turn the mirror, and then you can send the images to your phone through Wi-Fi. That's because all of that stuff can be obtained now, and other agencies can get it. And what I'm trying to say is, whenever Snowden left the NSA, shared information with 3,000 outside entities. And Edward Snowden was working for one of those entities, and the NSA feels like there are 3,000 Edward Snowdens still left in the NSA. But now the NSA shares the information that they obtained with 7,000 entities. You got to think twice before rioting, because now you're not anonymous. You can't wear a bandana on your face and think you can do something and nobody know who you are. Okay? There were people who died by their own hands by making bad decisions while they were looting and stuff like that. That's going to be a homicide that somebody's got to pay for it. Even if the police kill someone, they're going to blame the homicide on the agitators and the people who are leading the riots. You see what I'm saying? So when they saw that guy with a gas mask on, a black umbrella, and a black suit, they should have took notes. That's how you hide from Big Brother. They're gonna say that the one intelligent dude that was down there busting windows and stuff was an agent just because he moved differently from the rest. No, the rest of you were moving foolishly. That's the only person. They said there was several people like that. Well, then they must have came as a group and they made their moves, and they're never gonna have to pay for what they did in damages. But everybody else was foolish. I don't know why they thought negative of the people who had on the appropriate gear to hide their identity. I bet you they did not have. I bet you they had the old binary Motorola phones, or they didn't, or they had burner phones, and they wore gloves, all black, and they wore the military gas mask, and they had a black umbrella hiding their identity because they know about technology and how Big Brother sees everything. What's up, Aussie? Third Eye in the building. Yeah. Big Brother is different times. Big Brother is here. Big Brother is new name is the NSA. The NSA is so large. It sits on 345 acres. They have their own fire department. They have their own SWAT team and police force. All right? And they gather data and they store it. And they see how they can profit off the data. They're sanctioned. They're allowed. You see what I'm saying? You did not riot anonymously. You did not get away with anything. You were being watched. Nobody had to be there to watch you. We got satellites. We have cell phones with 4 and 5G technology. Your phone may have 5G technology, but you don't have access to use those abilities. So they only allow you to use the 4G capability. But when they need to tap into what you're doing, they access the 5G technology that's dormant in your phone. There's a reason why your phone is not round or oval, because they want your phone to lay flat. So one camera is always facing up. You see, this is how they trick you. You see somebody who only has a camera on the back of the phone, and you go, your phone don't have a front-facing camera? Wow, that must be an old phone. My phone, it has everything. It has a front-facing camera. Matter of fact, my front-facing camera is 5 whatever, 5 bit or whatever, and then my camera that faces away is like 12 or whatever, 12 pixels. Yeah, the camera facing me is 5 pixels, and then the other camera on the other side of the phone is 12 pixels. So you mean to tell me you only got a camera on one side of your phone? Yeah, I got to upgrade. But I like your phone. I just got to wait till my next check. But look, every time they upgrade your phone and give it another feature, it's not for your benefit. If there's a camera, is there a phone with 3 cameras on the back now? And so now the people that only got 1 camera on the back feel like they're not in touch or not up to date, because all the people that's really doing well and that can afford better technology, or the hip people got the phone with the 3 cameras, then you're fooling yourself. You know what I'm saying? The reason why the phone is designed the way it is so a camera and a microphone is always facing up. most phones have 3 microphones on it. So if it's in a case and the mic is being covered, they can turn on a different mic that's not covered in the case. You know what I'm saying? Our news just showed the fires, etc. We're delayed from the time difference. What's the best YouTube updates? Well, I've been watching, Tommy's channel, and people been sending him links to other channels. So I think if you find out what he's looking at, then you can go from there, because he's actually been getting the most current footage. But now some of this stuff is trending, even though they try to keep it out the trend. You can actually see some of the stuff that's trending, but they don't want this information out in real time. They don't want you to see it in real time at all. You know what I'm saying? I took a break I was up all night last night. I slept in late. I couldn't take my eyes off of it, because I was like, it's going down. And there are people in other states that is mimicking this behavior. They were protesting by my house, and I said, nah, they couldn't be protesting that soon. But yeah, they protested again downtown, and they've been protesting out here too. It's crazy. But what I want to say is, if you're protesting, you can't catch Uber or Lyft to the protest site. You can't drive. Your car got GPS. Your car got a black box. If you have a smartphone on your person, you did not enter the arena in private. You did not enter the arena anonymously. You snitched on yourself. The phone is not your friend. The phone is the authorities. And they make you feel like if you don't have a Facebook account, you ain't hip. If you ain't got a Snapchat or Instagram or something, if you ain't on Big O or whatever, you ain't cool. You ain't got a Twitter. Oh man, you still use Twitter? I ain't know people fuck with Twitter. Yeah, I still use Twitter. You see the kind of inner peer pressure to get people to, to do things, to join things. My Twitter account has more followers than I ever had, and it has nothing to do with music or YouTube. It's for something else. And I only follow maybe 124 people, but I got well over 1,000 followers on my channel, and I barely tweet. I tweet maybe once a month. You see what I'm saying? But what type of channel it is and what I'm posting and what I'm connected to, it's a niche market. All right, but it has something to do with being self-employed and stuff like that. And there's other people who are doing the same industry. But what I'm saying is, you didn't do nothing but set yourself up to be incarcerated or detained. And even if you don't get incarcerated or detained, now you are labeled a civil unrest extremist. And if you're black, you're labeled a black identity extremist. If you go read the final call online, you go to the nation's website to read the final call. If you subscribe to the final call, if you made a payment for a subscription, if you go to the 5% Nation's website, if you looked on Wikipedia, maybe you had a curiosity about the 5% Nation and you look on Wikipedia to learn about the 5% Nation. Well, the government sees these as hate groups. They feel that these groups are no different than the Klan. So now you have a history of looking at these groups' information, and they can turn that any kind of way in court to make the people in the jury have a certain way that they view you. You see what I'm saying? Just like the guy, the Unabomber, he had books in his little house, and they used those books to say that he was an anarchist or whatever because of the titles and the type of books that he had in his house. But you know what? He probably only read one book. He just had those books on his person because he didn't have a TV and stuff, and he probably was going to get around to reading it. But you cannot, there's no proof that he read every single book. But just because he possessed those books, they was able to portray him a certain way. So based on the books that I got, I could be labeled a black identity extremist or any kind of person, but I have a variety of books, but they could just pick out the pro-black books in my collection. You see what I'm saying? I got pro-black books. I got black intellectual books, all kinds of stuff like that. But I also have books that are not so black. I also have books that are strictly for entertainment. I have books that have some literal value to them. You know, like if you were white and you came over my house, and on my coffee table you saw a book called "Stupid White Men." Now, you might assume that I'm racist or something like that, right? Even if you were black, you might assume when you see that book, well, that book was written by a white man. The book, the guy who wrote that book is the same guy who wrote Fahrenheit 9/11. I got that book also. I got Everybody and Their Mama autobiography from Condoleezza Rice, Colin Powell, Gotti. So what can you make out of that? If I got Condoleezza Rice autobiography, Maya Angelou, Colin Powell autobiography, if I got every Obama book known to man, the Audacity of Hope, Something from My Father, and I got Gotti's book, I got George Washington Carver, so they can portray and parlay your collection into anything they want to, however they want to present you to your peers to make you look bad. So you nonchalantly use Safari, Chrome, and Explorer, and all these other little things that track you. You have created a history over the years. All your Google searches and all that stuff will say something about you, and they can develop a profile about you. If you don't think some of those people caught Lyft and Uber down to the protest, you're sadly mistaken. And if anybody owns a car that was made in the past 10 years, they have a black box on those cars. So even if you try to deny it, even if you leave your cell phone at home, your car is being tracked. Because I remember a time you had to pay for GPS in your car. Now they include it in the cost of the car, and your GPS is free. You see what I'm saying? Matter of fact, when I got my second car, because my wife got a car, and then I got another car for myself because I was ready to get a different car. Her car was new and mine was used. Do you know the first thing I did was I checked the GPS to see where the car has been. I checked the GPS to see what was marked as a favorite and what was the last big trip the car took. Well, come to find out, this car was driven from one air base to another. It came all the way from the Atlantic coast, and it was driven all the way out here to an air base. And I guess he sold it, or he or she sold it after they got out here. But I saw that where the car came from. I had the address of the base at both locations. So even if you try to be slick and think that you can outsmart Big Brother have overlapping ways to track you. And when 5G come out, they're not even going to need, it doesn't matter if you have a phone on your person or not. Yeah, it ain't going to even matter at that point. So, I'm just saying, you have to be, if you really want to riot, do your research, do your homework, study the great Chicago riot, study the Detroit riot. There were riots everywhere, New York, D.C. In D.C., a very popular radio personality was able to tell people, hey, if you stop rioting, I will bring James Brown to the city to do a concert. Matter of fact, James Brown got on TV with a Republican. He got on TV and he said, "Look, if you guys stop rioting, I'm asking you for me to stop rioting, right?" And then he endorsed a Republican candidate for the presidency. And but today, could T.I. or one of these guys call a riot off? You don't see them stepping up to the plate. All these people with millions of subscribers and stuff like that and get all these damn views, you don't see them stepping up to the plate. You don't see Vlad going live. You don't see nobody saying, hey, you don't see Charlamagne the God. You don't see nobody say, hey, let's stop this. But back in the day, you could say, hey, I'm bringing Lil Wayne to town if you guys stop rioting. I don't see that. So, speaking of Big Brother, I got a new device that I know Big Brother is going to love because it helps them find out more about me, and I'm finna take it out the box and set it up with software and stuff like that. And I hope everybody catch the replay. Thanks for coming through. All right, it's been real. I had fun, and you know what? Even me speaking the way I do, I tried to choose my words carefully tonight. We are past back in the day, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, back in the day, you could down there blow somebody's car up or whatever and get away with it. But not today. Not today. What you do now and where you was and how long you was there and what happened when you was there is a dead giveaway. And your first mistake was your little Samsung iPhone Pixel or whatever you got on you already done snitched on you. You see what I'm saying? So thanks, Reefa, right on, peace. Please catch the replay because at the beginning of this show, I played Malcolm X's great speech called The Ballot or The Bullet, which is very relevant now. While the speech was playing, I played footage from the murder from Minneapolis. And I hope people catch this replay in the morning. It's been real. And we will continue this conversation. All right? Because it just got real and it's very serious. I didn't think they care about getting caught. Well, but see, that's irrational. Yeah, keep that, man. You need to be rational. You can't let your emotions overwhelm you. In London, my last album cover was from the last riot from the youth in London when they ended their youth programs. Just like if they ended the I forgot what they call it out here, but the boys club. If they ended the boys club all at once all over the United States, that's what they did there, and all the youth went crazy out there and set buildings on fire. But once again, the only thing I saw burning was in their own poor neighborhoods and stuff like that. I'm team burn it all down to the ground. Look, I don't have a problem with burning it down to the ground and stuff like that. But do it in a smart way. If you feel that that's going to make you feel better, if that's going to prove a point, then you got to do it anonymously. The difference between any other great riot, such as the Rodney King riot and stuff like that, is that they didn't have a way to track you as well as they do today. Now, you just exposed yourself. You go into a database. If they feel like that they're going to have civil unrest or they're about to do something to a group of people in the city or set up shop or the president is coming or whatever, they will come and detain you while the president is in town, or before they let the citizen know what changes are going into play behind this pandemic or whatever, they already aware of who might do what and why, because you already snitched on yourself, either because of the shows you do every day, or because of your searches, or where you were when stuff went down for the other thing. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, Key, you know what I'm saying? This is different. Imagine in the great battle between the Italians and the Ethiopians, the Battle of Ottawa, the battle that inspired Martin Luther King, the battle that inspired Malcolm X. All right? If all those warriors had smartphones, you see what I'm saying? They won that battle by making the forts. They turned they were missions. The missions turned into forts. And when they turned into forts and they got into it with the Ethiopians turned those forts into prisons. So not only you could receive more supplies or food, you could not leave. And it took the Italians 40 years later to get revenge. And now a lot of Ethiopians love the Italian fashion. The girls like to dye their hair red, and the guys like to get the European style haircuts. And the Ethiopians love to hang out at Starbucks out here and hang out in the Italian restaurant area of our city. You see how things change? They got too docile. They got too, they let their guard down 40 years later. The next generation couldn't stand up. And this is what happens now. The people in Selma, we don't have that breed that they're not making that model of a person today. These people would not be able to handle the stuff that they went through. These people, not only they would stand being attacked by dogs and stuff like that, they feet hurt. You know, the type of shoes they wore, hard leather shoes and stuff, they don't have they didn't even have the same shoe technology. They didn't even have the same shoe game we got today. So I'm just saying, you know, there's more news at 11. And I thank y'all for the ones that showed up to check this out. And a true revolutionary don't care about stealing their identity, like cops reporting their brutality. Well, the cops are protected by Big Brother. You see what I'm saying? And I agree with you, Reefa. But if Big Brother know that you will react emotionally and don't care about the consequences, whenever Big Brother wants you off the street and out of their hair, they know how to trigger you to get rid of you, and you should not be that predictable. You see what I'm saying? You should be that predictable, because we don't have procedures and protocols. They do. When they know that somebody's going to get killed eventually or whatever, they already have a handbook to go by step, so they can deal with that situation. But I understand. But everybody's opinion, everything is valid. If I sounded condescending in any kind of way, I apologize. And I'm not saying don't be aggressive. But if you're going to be aggressive, do your homework and do it smartly, because the people who did protect their identity and stuff like that, they was the ones persecuted and attacked for doing it smartly. All right, cool, right on. Oh, good, right on. Likewise. It's all good. So we're going to sign out. Peace and hair grease. Anybody in the background, Key Devin and Observer, and Reefa and everybody else. Anybody I missed, peace and hair grease.